And nobody like Jasmine walked in and tried to turn you into a prostitute taking Indian hormones meant for cows.
Yeah. Do you think his wife is with Angelique?
Maybe they're in the witness protection program. Hold on.
The Peach Fish Protection Program.
Hold on a second. Hey everyone, we were just talking about Justin and the great news. You want to break it to the audience, Doc?
Yeah, I'm really hoping that Justin is as single as Sam Owen Hancock is. And that his ass is just as sore as Sam's ass is, because Sam's ass is like, I don't know, Mike. It's like a rosy red pink ass right now.
He's really upset, and he's demanding that Angelique repent and return to him, because I guess the troll army has somehow they've dissuaded her. But I'm just wondering, what made her leave? What do you think made her finally snap?
The fact that he's an odious micro dick numbskull fuckwad, perhaps.
That could be it.
Could be it.
He cut the beard, though.
Actually, Angelique called me, Sam, and said, I'm desperate for a real man.
Yeah.
You know, a rational person with a dick the size of a fucking baby's arm hanging out of a pram.
Well, she doesn't deserve you, Doc, so I hope you didn't, you know, give her what for.
You know what we've done? We've taken a solemn and sacred and serious moment and relapsed into PvP.
No, that's true. But we didn't make this exactly to make fun of the tards. I'm sure we will be making fun of lots of tards throughout the course of the show, but I guess we kind of wanted to take a snapshot of this moment in time where we can reflect on what the show has been about and maybe where it will be going. Who can say?
I think that's very important. This is like Psychic Vampires punctuation. Why we are here, why we do what we do, who we are, and the motivation that keeps us coming back week after week, ungodly hours, to deal with idiots all over the world.
We pay an unhealthy amount of attention to these people. Like, we have people looking at their Facebook accounts and reporting back. I mean, it's like if we find out that Justin's wife left him at 3:30 in the morning, we're all getting texts like, oh my God, you won't believe what just happened. And it's not even like they're important people. They're just the biggest dirtbag losers on the planet that we happen to know of. So I don't know. It's probably good for our own sanity that we explain why we do it, because I forget sometimes.
I do too. And every now and then a dear person who I'm fond of will say, what the fuck are you doing with your life? And I go, let me think about that and get back to you.
At least you're having fun, though.
I mean, Michael and I project our personalities and our psychoses and our weaknesses and strengths into the world on a regular basis. And some people listen to it. And it amazes me that we can go live and share what's in our subconscious, and 500 people all over the world pay attention to it. And there's a responsibility with that. And I think part of it is saying why we do what we do and why we're here and doing what we do here. And the unhealthy devotion of time and energy has an end point, or it has a purpose. And it's important that we're clear about that, although it changes from time to time. We don't agree, Michael.
Of course, depending on how deeply into our monthly periods we are, or if somebody does something particularly gross or just beyond the pale, then it goes from being a healthy educational thing to a beat them to death with whatever you can find at hand kind of thing. But either way, everything serves a purpose.
It really does. And I reflect on my most popular videos and our most popular shows, and they're invariably the ones where someone either shits their pantaloons or hoards the shit of their ancestors. These are not the important subjects that we cover.
Right.
I actually research fecal theft on a weekly basis.
You're not going to report me, are you?
It's going to get like 5,000 views, but it's not. That's the shit stuff, the guy deep frying his poo, that's comic relief for us.
Yeah. It gets really dark sometimes. I mean, we make fun of Shani because she's hilarious, but at the same time, like, think of those children and how dark it must be to be trapped in that household with her. Their futures, like not that she's ruined anybody, because I don't think she has the power to ruin people, but she certainly put up a lot of, impediments in their way to success in life. And whatever we could do to curb that, why the fuck not?
Yeah, I agree. And in discussion with my friend, I said, well, Michael and I, although it seems like Monty Python, although more drunk than they were at that time, we're really cautious about the people we actually go after in terms of risk versus reward. And we had for a long time, for about a year or so, the Dan Shelley ruling, which is now revoked.
Right. Dan Shelley ruined that for himself. So
yeah, he ruined it for himself. Basically, if someone was a benign crazy, having fun and not really damaging anybody around them,
right,
we'd look at them and we'd make fun of them, but that was as far as it went.
Yeah, and there's like different kinds of crazy. So like when you look at Patrick Coleman, the guy was obviously a predator who was trying to reel in, drug addict newbies or try to use drugs to get people to come into his life. And I say that, of course, with a grain of salt, because nobody ever really knows the full truth, but that's what it looked like from the outside.
Yeah, and let's be very clear about that. We're not talking about an instance. We're talking about a pattern.
Right.
That comes specifically to Patrick. A pattern in which we've spoken with at least 3 of the people involved in said pattern. So we're not...
One of them's dead now.
One of them's dead now, exactly. So we're not making things up here. But Patrick stands out as a capital letter high punctuation mark fuckwad of the scumbags we've actually dealt with, because someone's dead.
Right. Yeah, and he would certainly have stacked more bodies on top of that if he was allowed to. With he was under the radar until he wasn't anymore. It's really simple. But then there's other types of crazies like Otherkin. So what if you think you're a fucking dragon? More power to you if you think you're a dragon. As long as you're not hurting anybody, or if it makes you feel more powerful, then have at it. Like, maybe we'll laugh at it and say it's silly, but we're not going to target you if you just have some silly, stupid, self-empowering belief. I mean, it might not even be that stupid. Maybe you are a dragon. Who knows?
I love the Otherkin.
They're beautiful, aren't they?
Otherkin? Furries?
Furries are a little gross. Coming all over everything.
Well, I mean, the sex part of the furries is a bit distressing, of course. But Otherkin, even the starseeds that just waft around in a miasma of incense smoke, they're not doing anybody any harm. They seem gentle and kind people. I think they're functional spastics, but that's not my business.
Right.
They're not exploiting kids.
Right.
They're not teaching people to not take their medicine or go to the hospital when they hear the voices of the grey aliens. Or
using their mentally ill trophies, people that they've sucked into their loop to just parade in front of us like props to show up. That's what was going on with Patrick, and that's what Steven was doing. And that's always funny when they do that, because that's how you know it's going to blow up in their face. Once they get so much hubris that they start showing off their successful brainwashing, it's like, dude, the clock is ticking then.
Yeah, at that point, they want to come down in flames. And, by way of evidence for that, I use all of recorded history.
Right.
And for people like Michael and myself who have spent time studying the patterns, this is so patently obvious that it's actually painful to watch at times.
It's cringy. And it's almost like the serial killer writing the letters to the newspaper, like, come and get me, you'll never get me. Well, then you're just getting a lot more people to focus on getting you when you start rubbing everyone's face and how much more powerful you are when you're really not more powerful at all. So that's Steven, Patrick. David Schurter was kind of doing that, but we scared him off pretty quick, I think.
Dave Schurter was a fast burn Shani, and I say that because Dave Scherter was intellectually equipped enough to realize he was fucked up.
He went right back under the radar.
Yeah. The likes of G-Man, he's a very slow burn, but a very intense one because he's actually intellectually incompetent and unable to understand what he's doing. Shani is medium term, and I suspect one of those scary letters, "I've killed my whole family," from that household at some point in the next 5 to 10 years.
Somebody's going to kill somebody in there.
Yeah. I mean, none of it ends well. But bringing it back to our motivation and our impetus, I'm addicted to a limited degree. I wake up and I check what the scumbags of the world have been doing. And I'm in the last 3 to 5 years that we've been interacting, have there been times where we both said, I can't do this anymore?
Yes, multiple times.
Yeah.
What was the last time for you?
Every 6 months at the absolute maximum, but for me it's really every couple of months, and I just have to say no, I'm not doing this because it feels like going over a waterfall.
Right. Well, see, I'll have periods where I'm just like, I can't do it at all, like ever again. And I think I've probably got through all of that at this point because it's like a fun hobby. If I have other stuff to do, obviously I'll do that. But if I have free time, this is fun to do. But there are times where, like for a week, maybe 2 weeks, I'm just like, I can't check anything. I don't care. Yeah. I don't care if Justin's wife leaves him and then he crucifies himself. Like, I just need a fucking break. And I think that that's probably healthy.
I treat it like binge drinking.
Right.
It's the thing that can get you places if you manage it effectively, but if you do it all the time, you're fucking dead.
Yeah. And it is toxic too.
The toxicity that we deal with is outside of the Dan Shelley scale. The benign crazies. You can look at them until, like a rainbow, and they'll enrich your life. Like, here's a different side of your reality.
Right. And it's even cute with some of them.
It really is. And I'm glad I live in a world where people like that can survive.
Right.
Like our friend, the hedgehog fancier. Unicole's former husband.
Oh, Jeremy Garner, the excellent producer, singer-songwriter. Very emissary as well.
Yeah, it seems like a nice guy. And then there are the few that are like a black hole for righteousness, and they just suck it into themselves and spew out darkness, like Justin, like G-Man, like Patrick, possibly like Fat Dan, the wife beater.
You mean
he's still aspiring to that?
What about Unicole? Because I think Unicole is too inept to be the black hole that she desires to be, but the desire is there. Like, if she could be Charles Manson, she would snatch it right up. I just feel like, luckily, she's far too dumb and vain to figure out how to do it.
You've taken us to the next level that I wanted to go to, and again, I mean, it's evidence that we've worked together. And that is that beyond the level of absolute darkness, there's a level of aspiring darkness, which I find even more toxic.
Right.
The likes of Unicole, to some degree, Krista Raisa.
Yeah.
Even Quinn Michaels. Quinn Michaels wants to be an anti-hero but can't quite get there.
And his child is one of the few people that he could have power over in his life is his own child. And he goes around on the internet saying his child made a pact with the Illuminati and is the Antichrist. It's like, dude, you're trying to turn the few crazy people in your audience against your own child? Like, that takes a special kind of fucking evil.
Yeah, that's second-level nihilism and second-level existential evil, and I find it fascinating in the way that I look at pictures that upset me and find them fascinating. And we choose to cast a lens on these folks, perhaps in contrast to the folks in our audience who don't have to look for the crazy.
Yeah, we'll find it.
We'll show it to you.
Exactly. And I like to think that, our audience is comprised of a lot of different kinds of people from a lot of different kinds of places. But I think that a recurring theme is that we've all kind of been through something. We've all kind of fallen down one rabbit hole or another at some point in life. And I think that when you can look at these other people who are still in the rabbit hole or trying to lure others into one, then you can reflect on yourself and, think like, well, hey, I see where I went wrong by looking at this person. It's like a good mirror to hold up.
Absolutely. And again, without disclosing anything that I haven't previously disclosed, I mean, I have a lifelong history of mental illness, successfully managed and troubling instances of self-harm and suicidal stuff and whatnot. And I'm happy to say that I'm one of the happiest people and the most contented people you'd ever dream of meeting, because I'm effectively medicated and, have a really rewarding life. And looking back into that pains me both on an intellectual level, because, I mean, we're not dealing with very bright people in the most part, but also at a very human level, seeing people like Nalon in particular going through what he went through. And I think that resonated with both of us, and perhaps it's an example of the kind of process that we want to have, or at least I'm focused on.
That brings a good point too, is I know that if people aren't like fully in on what's happening, or if somebody were to come to the show and just see the things we're saying, first off, like, it's pretty clear we're saying it about nasty people, so I think most people wouldn't have a problem with that. But if you look, like, for Nalon, for 2 years, we hammered Nalon to the fucking cross over and over again, humiliated him utterly for 2 years. Finally, it broke, and he realized how stupid he looked, and his life, well, now her life, is much better. And if we had coddled Nalon and said, we understand where you're coming from, but it's just not that way, I guarantee you Nalon would still be in that, motel wherever he was staying with Travis, still re-uploading Stephen Christ videos and still waiting for Stephen to be declared the Messiah. Sometimes you've got to punch people right in the fucking head for them to snap out of something. I mean, if they survive. It's always a 50-50 chance, right?
Or at least be honest with them over a period of a couple of years.
Right.
With their best interests at heart. And we can be cruel and we can be heartless. And in my culture...
You get what you give, too.
Yeah, the people who are cruel to you and the heartless and direct with you are the people who love your ass.
Yeah.
Like my best buddy would go, come here. You're being a fuckwad and you need to stop doing what you're doing. And I'd be like, oh, that's really good advice, actually. So I'm glad that Miss Nalon managed to escape the clutches of Stevis.
And Jasmine.
Yeah, precisely. And I'm glad that during my vulnerable, youthful times when I was hormonally imbalanced and otherwise, open to offers pretty much, I met good people.
Right. And nobody like Jasmine walked in and tried to turn you into a prostitute taking Indian hormones meant for cows.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess part of it is, me reaching out to some people who maybe need to know some good people who will be cruel to them if necessary.
It really goes a long way. I mean, if your friends tell you something, then you shouldn't react something you don't want to hear, and they're really your friends, then you shouldn't react negatively to it, because they're the ones who actually care about you, and they don't want you to come off like a fucking goon or ruin your life, which some people are hell-bent on trying to do.
Yeah, around about 4 a.m., I usually wake up and I remember all of the times that my friends have said, you need to cool your fucking jets.
Yeah.
And I go, yeah, they were always right.
I know. Think of where you could be right now if you didn't have friends to help you course correct,
Yeah, or if your friends are malevolent scumbag psychopaths, as many of the people we deal with actually are, in an unequivocal sense.
And we mean psychopaths like they may have murdered people and got away with it, because some of these fucking people are scary.
Yeah, or at least, let me be very clear, perhaps not psychopaths, at least people with very little empathy or very quick routes by which empathy can be sidestepped by contingency.
Wannabe psychopaths.
aspiring psycho.
Couldn't quite make it.
I need to be very clear with the audience. I could have been one of those people very easily.
Yeah, you just need to take the wrong path. All you got to do is take the wrong path, and then you fucking get off so far off track you can never figure out where to go back and go the right way.
Yeah, I think at an early level, an early stage in development, if you're intellectually able enough and you have sufficiently complex sources of reference, you can start to profit from folks who don't have those things. And once you get to depend on that, you're fucked forever, and your soul is dead.
And you might wind up on this show.
You definitely will. But quite honestly, I could be more wealthy and more famous by being less honest and exploiting people. And I'm sure Michael's is very much the same.
You know what? The thing about wealth and fame is, it's oftentimes too much. It's best sometimes if you can make heaven out of what you have, then what else do you need, Most people can't figure that out, even though it's really not that difficult.
Yeah, I mean, I go as far as if you can wake up in the morning and live with yourself, you're okay.
Yeah.
If you're not actively going out of your way to hurt other people and exploit the dumb and the weakest, you're probably on the right track, pretty much. And most people are there, and we go after specifically those who have given that up. They've given that card down. It's like, I'm no longer a human being because I've failed to care for the tribe.
Yeah, once they embrace their darkness and just, I don't know. But the problem with going for the weakest is they might appear to be weak and easy to pick off from your perspective, but for all you know, there's a bunch of wolves making sure that you don't get too close who might pick you off. So that's the problem with other wolves, I meant to say. Not all wolves are in the same pack. But
no, you're absolutely right. And just because an individual in a community appears to be weakest doesn't mean they are.
No.
It means that they are eminently protected.
Yeah. And it may mean...
If there's any function to the kind of comedy that we have, it's to make it clear that that kind of protection is present. It may not be, tremendously powerful, but it's a voice.
Right. A voice is actually... Oh, I'm about to say something really cheesy. In a weird way, the voice is the most powerful weapon of all.
Yeah.
Feels so tacky.
It really is, and then
especially when you get it in someone's head,
At this point, given the world melting down and whatnot, you're burrowing like Kit Kats in the woods. It's not a terrible idea.
No, maybe he's onto something.
But probably not, really.
I wanted to continue... Oh, sorry.
No, you please carry on.
I wanted to continue on a point we made earlier, which is we have been doing it for a while, but I know that my perspective on who we will select has definitely changed. There's a lot of people who I think are annoying twats. Like, let's say Ryan Cropper, the guy that sells $27 JPEGs to teach you how to astrally project. That's twat behavior, but he's not going out there and intentionally hooking he's just putting it there, and the retards are biting the hook. It's totally different than selecting people to put the hook in the mouth of. So even that's more of a what kind of... It doesn't matter.
That's trolling, and who's the victim there?
Right.
Someone loses a few bucks. Well,
yeah,
they didn't spend that at the liquor store,
and they came to him. He didn't go out to them. Yeah. So
fair dues.
It's like ethical, but it's not as bad as like Patrick or Steven.
No, it's like me hunting the mice in the apartment. If we're in combat, I'll take their lives, but once I've captured them, I have to treat them humanely, right?
Weren't you shooting at them? Pew, 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 a few months ago?
Yeah, I fucked up a few of them. And to be clear, I don't have a firearm, but I have an air rifle that's equivalent to a musket.
It'll take a mouse out.
Yeah, and especially with night vision, and I was sitting there like drinking a Monster. Yeah, fuckers, come on.
You can release an albatross in the house too. That'll get rid of them.
I'm thinking of getting a whole bucket full of weasels and just letting them go. Truthfully, guys, I've got nothing against the mice. They're just trying to live their lives, but they're in my shit,
Yeah, and they're pooping and pissing all over stuff, and you can't have that. It's gross.
They can't help it, but I took out, I think I got their leader, and I left his body out as an example to the rest of them.
Didn't you put his head on a pike and put it right outside the hole?
Kind of crucified him on a lollipop stick. Yeah. But seriously, yes. The mice in my apartment aren't really the message here. Although it's interesting, you know. They're not trying to hurt me, but I have to take them out in the same way as people who are, you know, preying on who I was.
That's the thing.
30 years ago are a problem now that I'm better.
Right, because, you know, there's other people like you who are not at your stage who, you know, might not be protected from people like that. So it's not exactly self-protective, but it's sort of like a self-love thing because, you know, you wish people had helped you steer away from that kind of shit. So now you feel like you need to help other people steer away from it.
It's at least empathy-driven. And again, I reflect on Nylon, 20-something years old and open to all kinds of...
A baby.
And a talented, creative one who got into a wrong set of circumstances and could quite easily have ended up dead and rotting under a fucking bush.
Especially if he went to New York with Jasmine.
Yeah. And why can I say that? Because it's happened before, exactly as described.
And Nylon and Vitaly, though Vitaly was an extremely nice person and Nylon was a very nasty person, they have a lot of similarities.
I think Nylon's affect is a function of being vulnerable, quite honestly, and I think he's very defensive.
Yeah.
And you know, I remember one time where we grilled him for 2 hours, and then you and Veronica took him apart for an hour, and he sat and he listened to it,
and he cried.
And I was really impressed with that.
Yeah, and I was too, because Nylon had always run and, you know, I don't know, he always stuck around longer than, let's say, Sam, who fucking bailed in 20 minutes on us.
It's because he's brighter than Sam, and he's an artist.
And he also has more conviction.
He's interested in learning, and I think there's a lot of potential for him now that he's made a sharp left turn away from an insane psychopath.
You know, there's a lot of power in conviction, and Nylon has a lot of conviction. The problem was, it's like, I don't know, it's like he had the flashlight on and then Steve's hand was over it, you know?
Exactly. I mean, cults are really the thing, and cults present themselves in all kinds of different ways. Cults of relationship, or politics, or psychology, or religion, or some blend there in between, and Stephen Christ is a really good example of that. A charismatic huckster who can spin a yarn sufficient to snare some vulnerable people, because some people are always programmed to be ready for the next yarn.
Yeah.
And the longer you listen, the sweeter the pitch.
That's one of the rules of house music, Doc.
If anyone has ever gone to a street market and seen someone selling stuff, it's exactly the kind of program that is done with religion, and in Steve's case with, you know, his bogus cosmology. And
yet he was so inept at it. Like, I'm surprised that Travis and Nylon got those tattoos. I can't believe that Steven had the power to manifest that on two people, and yet he still couldn't get anyone other than those two to believe him.
Travis, I was ready to go for broke. Nylon, I'm actually really horrified that he was branded. And I remember a conversation that we had offline at the time, basically saying, does this boy know what he's done? He's linked at the visceral level, as well as the visual issues, which I consider secondary. But he's branded himself at a soul level with this ass.
A tattoo is sacred. I mean, what you put on your body is what you put in your soul. So, people can get silly tattoos, but I'm just saying, when you get a giant insignia of, you know, someone who claims they're the Messiah on your chest, and then you have to see that every single day, that person's in your head for life.
Yeah. But he did it. and I hope he gets to deal with it. But I mean, my
He
advice
filled it
to him
in.
would be, fill it in, get it taken off, whatever you need to never see that fucker again, because that's over now, and he made the break.
Yeah.
She made the break.
Yeah, we knew Nalon as a man for 90% of the time. So if we misgender, it's just Nalon's a woman now. But if we say what we say.
Yeah, it's absolutely respectful. I'm from 1972, and I find it clumsy to change, and it's my failing. And if Nalon's happier being a woman, as far as I'm concerned, he's away from Steve. All bets are off. He is square with the house.
You know, the real test is going to be when Steven... I don't know that I want to say when, because it would be nice if he was in there forever, but I feel like at some point they are going to let Steven out. At some point.
If you threaten to kill 2 presidents.
Yeah. And the people at the psych ward, you say their families are all going to die on the internet?
Yeah. Well, let's put it this way. If Stephen gets a hearing to be released into, the wild.
We should show up like Yoko does at that guy's trials.
Oh, yeah. I will fucking be there. And
boy.
This is where he threatened to decapitate my child. Okay.
Yep. He'll be back at it, too. Oh, my God.
All I would need to do is wink at him, and he'd go fucking nuts.
But, Doc,
that would be that.
He's already nuts. But can you imagine the ratings if we had Steve versus Justin? That would be great. They'd go through the roof. They'd be threatening to kill each other.
We're in the dark space now, so I'm gonna go for it. I worry about Justin.
Yeah, I don't worry about him at all, because I know that he's going to go straight to hell, and I'm going to enjoy watching that happen. It sounds like it's already happening.
I really hope so. I mean, if the Jesus thing is real, then he's fucked. More than we're fucked. But I worry that Justin will go to his maker without ever having to do a cage match with Samo and Hancock.
Doc, you know what a really great way to destroy someone is? It only works about 75 to 80% of the time, but when it works pretty well. You're supposed to just give them an opportunity and wait for them to fuck it up. So that's the best way.
Show them a long rope and a trapdoor.
Right this way, Justin.
How many times have we seen them do that? I mean, that's another theme. They will tell you their darkest wishes, like Patrick did so well. What should we do with him, Omni?
Should we kill him? With that dirty fucking long ass fingernail? Ugh.
The only thing that differs in the pattern is the degree and quality of the theater. And I think Michael and myself value the theatrical components.
I miss it. We miss you, Patrick. Come back.
But overall, the message is much the same, and it amounts to, you're nothing, I'm something, give me everything.
He literally made Merrick write, I am nothing, on his chest, recorded it while he screamed and cried, and he said, what's the problem? Why are you crying? Bitch, why is he not running is the question. He should have shivved you right there and escaped your apartment. Or, I'm sorry, his apartment that you were staying in.
Yeah. Merrick, I mean, here's the thing about apes, right? You're either the alpha or you're not, and you're not.
He might be now. He shut Patrick straight the fuck down.
Yeah. I mean, at that point, I was like, you're being tortured and you're kind of enjoying it because you're enabling it, but this is damaging your soul. What you need to do is say, I'm going to take this marker and I'm going to shove it right up your ass. And then I'm going to
put it on OnlyFans.
Yeah. And then I'm going to break both sides of your jaw so you can't speak for 4 months. What do you think of that? And I know that, that's a violent series of iconographies that really kind of underlines the psychology of that interaction. It was a brutal assault.
We know that Patrick's relationships had violence within them from when we interviewed Patrick Butterfield. He used to beat him as part of their rituals. I mean, if he could talk Merrick into doing that, he would. I think maybe we got to Merrick because shortly after we started making videos, Patrick stopped. he went off the air. So
Yeah. And our assets still have very close eyes on
That's
Patrick.
right.
So the minute he raises his head and tries to, groom another mentally ill young man, we'll jump all over him, like we did the last couple of times, and in retrospect, the previous 2 times. So, I hope you see this, Patrick, you dirty fucking scumbag.
You know what's disturbing though is now Merrick works in a psych ward, and I doubt that like it's going this way. But what if Patrick somehow leveled up into like this Hannibal Lecter-esque character who sends Merrick to try to recruit potential new shamans during their 72-hour holds at the psych ward?
Yeah, tune in, folks, for episode 5 of the Psychic Vampires podcast, because it could happen.
It's our mid-season premiere, Doc.
We're also available for birthday parties, bar mitzvahs, and so on.
Really good at those bat mitzvahs. It really comes out of us.
And what I'm feeling now is that instinct that I have, and again, I want to disclose with the audience, when I feel really uncomfortable in the presence of evil, I usually try and make a joke.
Oh. Okay, what's the joke?
And try and defuse things a little bit.
Is it getting too evil for you in here?
No, I fucking love it. And it's my way of saying, yeah, I absolutely adore the darkness when I can poke fun at it. Because that means I have power over it. So, Patrick, do your fucking worst. I'm here for you, brother.
Remember when he sent Magic Dan?
Oh, can you share that picture, perhaps?
Oh, yeah. Let me see if I can pull that up while we're doing that.
That was his 3-hour response to us doing not very much at all, actually.
Magic Dan had a theme song, too. Do you remember how it went, Doc?
His name is Magic.
That's right. Here, I'll sing it.
Patrick sent a sidekick hitman to get us called Magical Dan.
And he joined us. He became the 4th psychic vampire at the time. Yeah. But he's retired now, right?
Yeah. He's living in Lapland with and doing very well, actually. I hear from Magical Dan quite often.
I'm gonna go ahead and sing the Magic Dan song for everybody while we look at Magic Dan. He's on the right there.
Yeah, extreme right.
Yep.
Magical Dan.
His name is Magic Dan. He's the coolest shaman around. And that's all I remember. But yeah, there he is, everyone. Magic Dan. We miss you, Magic Dan, but he is retired, and he is enjoying his life.
Yeah, he has a cabin next to Tommy Lee Jones out in the Arctic. They're having a wonderful time.
Did he get hepatitis from Tommy Lee Jones? I hope not.
Not yet.
Not yet.
I think Tommy's working on it.
Oh, good. Well, hopefully he's got the vaccine. Vaccination.
So, we've had Magic Dan set upon us. We've had goblins, magic shamans.
Wiley the coyote, the arsonist came after us.
Wiley the arsonist.
Who had God in a box in his jail cell.
Yeah. So, for the newcomers, we abused Patrick a little bit. The dirtiest shaman. Yeah, the HIV patient zero shaman of Chicago.
By the way, no, we don't begrudge anyone who has anything, but this guy was spreading it around on purpose, so fuck him.
Yep, giftgiversofchicago.com. We abused him a little bit over his suicided boyfriend and whatnot. And he recruited a crew of crackheads, arsonists, comatose fuckwads, and degenerates to tell us what a bunch of shits we were over about 4 hours. And there was a woman sitting on the couch, and she was really camouflaged. You couldn't tell she was there until she... Wake up, bitch!
She was she was a nice black lady, and he was making jokes about how black people love watermelon and fried chickens, and how he's like, look, see, I'm not racist. She's not hitting me. It's like, bitch, she's not gonna hit you when the camera's on. She's not stupid. But wait till it's off, buddy.
This poor woman was passed out, and the other guy was 3 hours of Wiley, the blade swishing.
With his flames that he was obsessed with.
Yeah. So, witness for the prosecution, Wiley the firebug psycho, saying, what was it? Yeah, Patrick, you should stop threatening those guys. No, they're motherfuckers. I'm going to cut their fucking throats.
Yeah, that was an interesting time. I miss it, honestly. A Patrick in the world where Justin is our new Patrick, it really makes me miss our old Patrick a little bit.
You know what? There were times where I woke up in Iceland and Patrick was channeling someone that he had basically murdered. And it was like a reason to wake up and put the coffee on. So just
and he had that wig on.
The wig, the wig and the ribbons.
So disrespectful of him. Rip it good.
I was at the point of waking up my lover and going, "Look at this fucking shit," and she's like, "Why are you doing this to me?"
Oh man.
No, this is really important. No, it really isn't.
You might save a life, though. You never know.
Doing her a bit, but I'm thinking about Justin's kids. I'm thinking about Shani's kids.
They're in trouble.
I think Shani's kids, they're not salvageable at this point.
No.
Their normal is fucked.
They were peeing on the carpet in the fucking attic at their grandma's house. Like, if you didn't teach your kids to piss in the toilet, and they're already like, they were almost 10 at that point, then what the fuck? I mean, you failed. You shouldn't have children.
You know, I did some strange peeing things when I was little. You know, it was like a hobby. I was like, I wonder if I can piss here. That's fine. And I got over it. What worries me is Shani's son sitting in the back of the truck on the way to the crisis.
Begging her to shut up.
Please don't talk about me online.
Look at what you people did to my kid!
Yeah, that was where it ended for me. Because that's first-hand evidence that
it's abuse.
This child in a state of distress is a pawn.
You know, I wanted to bring this up before I forget, but since we're talking about Shani now and we were going on about the new Justin being the old Patrick, blah blah blah, we always kind of have a number one target.
We're free associating, and I think we have a target like electrons are a thing. You know, it's a zone of targeting, and I do see it shifting from time to time.
Yeah, but we always have like a public enemy number one, and I think before Justin, it probably was Tila, but I've given up on Tila. If the authorities think that Tila needs to have those children after everything that we've seen and everything we did, then like fuck it, we did everything we could, so now it's out of our hands. But yeah, there was Shani as well.
Maniac. She's an insane maniac with 2 toddlers and a motor vehicle, and she's out of her fucking mind. On the highway, enjoy it. Take care of it yourselves, guys.
Yeah.
We've called it in.
And when she kills an innocent family, well, that's your problem. Or when she pushes those kids off into the lake, into the Gulf of Mexico, you know, not our problem.
Yeah. We called it in. She's a mental case. Here's her address. Go for it. Yep. Officer Hernandez was there. He was talking to her. I'm pretty sure I've got a good feeling about him. I've got a good feeling about Officer Hernandez.
I think he's kind of protecting those kids as much as he can.
I think he has eyes on, and I know that Officer Francis, his partner, definitely has eyes on.
Big friend of the show.
Big friend of the show. And, you know, that's the saving grace, because occasionally we can reach out on the borderline and say, you may want to just pay a little bit of attention. Why are you saying this, sir? And I go, please watch that.
Yeah, and then you've done your part. It's all out there then.
Just being a good neighbor. I'm overseas, but all people are my neighbors. These kids are my neighbors. Look after the kids. And they're like, thanks very much. We protect and serve. I'm like, thank you, lads.
And those kids, like, Tila's kids are, I don't know if they're more fucked than Shani's kids or not, but what she is teaching those kids is normal at a young age. You're imprinting everything on those children, and they're just going to act just like she does, except maybe the youngest one might not remember most of it, but Isabella's going to fucking remember all of this.
I'm hoping that both of them remember it as magical theater with mommy.
Yeah. Maybe she really is different off the camera, but I don't know.
I'm pretty sure she has to be in terms of energy expenditure.
That's
but
true.
I have more hope for them than I do for Shani's kids, who have experienced the sharp edges of psychosis forever. And I mean, let me be very clear. I experienced indirectly the sharp edges of psychosis in a family member for about 48 hours. And it was a transformative experience for me at aged 8 years old. Being at risk or uncertain of safety throughout that period, that was 48 hours. Those kids have lived that forever. And I don't know what effect that has. Maybe I'm a weakling. I don't know. But that's a thing I remember after 30, 35 years.
It sticks.
A big deal, a big fucking deal in my life, you know. But maybe those kids will be the next super soldier Delta Force because they've gone through all the psych stuff already.
That's the weird thing about trauma. It can transform you, but only if you know how to do it. It can either transform you or it can ruin you.
Destroy you. Yeah. If Rev is your dad figure, I'm thinking, what do you think, Michael? I mean, I'm
better to have no dad figure.
I'm not a dad. I'm a kind of pseudo dad in a couple of ways. You're not a dad, but you would step in if you needed to be. But Rev?
He drinks and drives on the way to elementary school to pick them up. And he records it, and then he denies that that's what he's doing. It's like, we have the fucking video, man. You can't deny it. Don't tell us it was 6 months ago either, because even if it was, you still did it.
He did leave an explanatory comment on my full canvas mirror that he could have taken down in 5 seconds, but chose not to.
We'll give him points for that, for not being a pussy who tries to hide what he did.
I mean, it's amazing. So he writes a comment saying, actually, you're a liar. I didn't get a DUI, so it was all good. I'm like, no, the point is you should have been pulled over and fucking arrested before you got to the school.
My favorite... go ahead.
It just blows my mind. It's like, dude, you were wrong. Say, yeah, I made a really bad decision and I'm glad no one got hurt. And I'd be like, fine, no worries. Don't do it again.
Well, my favorite part of the video is when he goes, oh, I think I'm going to throw up. And then he pulls the car over, and then on the side of the road with cars passing, he just goes, bleh! That's the best part.
As the school bus pulls past.
Yeah, and all the kids are like, what the fuck?
Once again, we could not have scripted that better. That was Trailer Park Boys. It's like, oh God, this is the worst possible thing.
Life just writes itself sometimes, doesn't it?
I just find myself to be accidentally fucked up and I'm picking up the kids from school. Oh.
And then we heard him on a video a few days later with Shani on the way to pick them up. And at the door, he stopped and he goes, I think I'm going to throw up. And she's like, are you okay? He goes, just give me a second. I'll be fine. I'm going to go pick up the kids. It's like, you just got busted on screen. You just got busted. And you're just now, like, doing it again? I don't know, like... Does someone deserve another chance at that point?
Again, it's the classic case of it's either disclosure or it's projection.
Yeah.
For these folks. And
projection's a bitch.
They love to prefigure their own downfalls and they never seem to be able to grasp it.
Some of them grasp it right before they fall, though. That's always pretty fun.
I think Justin is really on that loop now because we've got him down to sort of a 48-hour cycle for his channels.
Yeah, he's on some kind of loop. It's a stupid loop, though. Whatever he's on.
But the last time, I think he posted one about gay people burning in hell and then no babies.
Yeah. And if you're not raised by your biological mother, then, you know, you're a piece of shit and God can do whatever he wants to you, apparently. Including starve you to death, which is a nice thing he wished upon your kin. Very nice.
Yeah, here's the thing, Justin. My family's taken care of and that's never going to happen. We would dine on you before that would be an issue.
You don't want to eat him, though. He's filled with parasites. So
I worry about him. I really do. I think Justin next to Sam are lemon wedge potential.
Sam really needs. We need to gas that little bitch up. He's taken way too long to think he's the Messiah.
He's getting there. So Sam Owen Hancock is the guy who stepped into Stephen's empty slippers when he got taken off to the psych ward.
And his tiny little feet are too small to fill them, which is strange because Stephen had some tiny feet.
Sam has adequately taken on Stephen's empty mantle of two, now one, conehead douchebags to rule the concave earth.
Boy, what a fight for dominance.
I mean, there it is. But poor Sam. I mean, he's wired himself to a dead mule, and his woman left him.
Angelique
left him. Fuck.
She left him feeling like an empowered woman. She's not going back to him. Although I could see him stalking her, because what other options does he have?
He's doing it. He's trying to do it, and he's even inept at that. So I'm thinking the lemon wedge in Sam's future is,
just bite down, Sam. It's not so bad.
Don't bite down, Sam.
Yeah, fuck you, buddy.
Keep the bag on your head an extra 30 seconds, Sam. Do us all a fucking favor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I'm allowed to do that because I'm a suicide survivor, so I'm allowed to tell people to fucking off themselves if they're no good to man or beast and generally just inhumanity.
Choking on Starburst.
I mean, either go to the fucking barber or, you know
what to do.
Yeah.
Doc, let's roll through some of our greatest hits. I mean, we have so many. We've got Kevin Christian, David Schurter,
Yogi Zen,
the pea drinker. We lost videos because National Geographic was removing our video of him drinking his own pee.
After they published it.
I know. We're just trying to be educational.
Yogi Zen is a success story, though, because we caught him basically doing mushrooms, sitting in a pretend cave, dressed like David Lee Roth, drinking his own piss. And now he's a productive member of society, in a manner of speaking.
Yeah, he makes coconut furniture, and it's delightful. Is he still drinking his own pee-pee, though?
Well, he doesn't talk about it, and that's fine. That's all we ever ask.
Keep it to yourself, Yogi Zen, and everything will be great.
He makes self-assembly coconut furniture in one of several islands of Hawaii, and he isn't drinking piss publicly anymore.
Yeah. Do it in your cave, and everyone will leave you alone.
It's great. He looks like he's put on some weight because after he did the piss-only diet for a couple of weeks...
We thought he was dead for a year. Remember, he looked like he was going to die on that last video he made, and then he just disappeared.
Well, but he's reinvented himself. It's like, when you drive into the country in the US and you see shaker furniture for sale in barns and such.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's like that, only coconuts that smell of urine. But it's better. It's a step up.
It's the nice tropical air, though, if you bring them in your house.
Penis colada.
I got a nice coffee table from Yogi Zen. I don't use it. It stinks, but, I got it in my warehouse.
He's definitely a success story, and we got rid of Patrick, which I think is good as well.
I know that Patrick will be back, though, because, we're always right. Every single time we end up being right, and we know that it ends in destruction and misery for Patrick. So it is absolutely inevitable that at some point Merrick will leave him, and he will bring his dirty, stinky, brown-fingered ass back to YouTube, attempting to find the final fish for his hook, and he'll find it. But
yes, he will.
We'll be waiting, because Patrick, I know, will be back. I know we haven't seen the last of him.
Yeah, around about 3 years ago, I think we made a blood oath. In fact, I'm absolutely confident of that. And that was on the night that Merrick's body was discovered, and it's like, never
again. You're telling
again.
the future. No, you're telling the future. That was Vitaly's body. Merrick's body won't be discovered for another 6 months.
Sorry. Yeah, I think Merrick I think Merrick may survive, but the next one will be a very weak one. And I really hope that the old shamanitis kicks in because, it's all a fucking thing.
Well, I think that we already have a catfish lined up for him next time to prevent him from getting a weak one, but Patrick will think it's weak. So you just have fun, Patrick. We've got a really solid plan for what to do with you, buddy.
Yeah. And, you know, if you keep your head down forever, we'll keep ours down forever.
True.
But,
He won't, though.
yeah, so it's up to him.
So, who are some of your other favorites? Oh, go ahead.
Unicole and the inept girly posse seem to be a theme. I've grown more kind of interested in them because it seems their only function is to be kind of cutesy and not convincing.
Right.
And that's the
And they're all
point
friends.
that gets you over, you know?
The three goddesses, Christina Martine, Krista Raisa, and Unicole.
Precisely.
Who do you get the stinkiest vibe from of the three? Like, Krista's the most light of the three, I think. I think Unicole's the darkest, but none of them are even good enough to really be evil. They're all just stupid at worst, and at best, I guess.
I find them really interesting because the compulsion to be interested is based on their ineptitude. So I think if any of them get better at what they do, they, by definition, become worse within their category.
Right.
And then have to compete with real toxic, evil cunts like Teal Swan.
That's funny because they want to compete with Teal Swan. It's like, you bitches are lucky that you're not even on that level, because I'm pretty sure Teal Swan would eat them for lunch. So...
yeah, she would serve them up like fucking sushi.
Yeah.
I really do find it interesting. I find Unicole the darkest because she embraces her ineptitude occasionally.
And she's a megalomaniac as well.
And sprinkles glitter on her head and cries for 20 minutes. You know, she basically debases herself online in a way that I used to do when I was, you know, slashing my veins open as a means of performance art. And I'm like, why are you doing this? I mean, I did it in front of 500 people. You're doing it in front of everyone forever.
Yeah. Well,
forever in Granny's garden with a bag of glitter. At least I'm making a statement.
At least you didn't get caught on a Facebook photo that you uploaded sucking on a plastic dildo. What the hell was that? It's like, bitch, you should know that that looks stupid, and yet you chose to upload it yourself to the internet. I mean, what was it? Is it performance art? I don't think it is. So,
I think cutesy ineptitude goes quite far, and I'm willing to tolerate it. But when it starts to be an excuse for domestic physical violence,
oh yeah, that was a shock. I didn't realize she was physically throwing punches at Jeremy.
Now, I know by dint of biology that it's less of an immediate physical threat, but Jeremy is not me, right? And Jeremy was at risk of his life when Unicole was kind of assaulting him.
Throwing the toaster at him.
And zero tolerance, guys. I mean, if it's a guy on guy, woman on woman, whatever, I don't care. If you're abusing your domestic partner and expecting them to make you a fucking sandwich after, that's not acceptable. And Unicole, the fact that you may or may not have a mental illness is not an excuse for what you did.
I think that... I'm sorry.
I want her to fight me. What do you think? 3 rounds, 3 minutes each, 9 minutes total. What do you think?
I think she would attempt to fight you thinking that you won't fight back because you're a man, because she seems to make that, inaccurate assumption a lot.
Well, here you go, Michael. You see, I have a mental illness as well, so
free pass.
It means I have a free pass, right? Because that's how that works, right?
Yep.
Oh no, it doesn't work that way because you outweigh me by 75 pounds.
No, it still works, Doc. You can do whatever you want.
Yeah. You see where I'm going, Uni? You can't be a cunt just because you're a bitch and have a mental illness. It doesn't work that way. Sorry.
Also, sometimes if a shark swims into the wrong pack, it gets eaten by all those other sharks, where it didn't belong. So have fun with that, Unicole.
But her pathos has been very entertaining to me over the while because it is dark and deep. And I think hers goes further than Krista Raisa. I mean, Krista should have a market stall selling.
She's a teddy bear.
Incense and jade shit and new age crap. She'd do great. Krista, you need to ditch your husband.
He's bringing her down.
He's a bad man.
He is, and he's not even a good bad man. He's like a dumbass bad man too.
A mediocre scammer.
Yeah.
Grifter. And a creep show. I mean, you can do better. Jeremy Garner's available.
He is.
He's a nice guy. He communes with hedgehogs and squirrels.
And in the fourth dimension, he's a very beautiful being who is a fairy god.
He's not an unattractive human.
I don't like the skullet.
He's got...
Doesn't mix well with the makeup. He looks like a Rocky Horror Picture Show extra. Just kidding.
He doesn't look like the fucking King and I, though. You know, the slaphead alien that Krista's married to.
That's true.
Krista,
my t-shirt. I couldn't sleep because my t-shirt last night was making me so powerful.
Krista, word to the wise, sweet pea. You can do better. You can do a lot better.
We could set her up with Prince Charming.
Arcturus Ra, for fuck's sake, girl. Why are you doing this to yourself?
Maybe she hates herself.
Why is Krista doing it to herself? Why is she doing it, Michael?
I don't know. Maybe he caught her at a vulnerable time in her life and imprinted all kinds of bullshit in her head. Who knows?
Yeah, it could be that. I mean, that's kind of the intrinsic theme to the entire conversation, Krista. Listen to the conversation and get away from him.
Yeah, we could be your friend, Krista. You could be a friend of the show. But not while you're married to that scum pond. I might have to wrap it up soon, but...
Yeah, I think we should, but I think we've covered some really good turf here.
Yeah, I think it was pretty fun. I did want to discuss David Schurter, but I do have a scheduled human sacrifice coming over, so I don't know if I can put that off, because you know how they get bitchy if you don't immediately let them into the house with the bounty, so...
Yeah, I find that the sacrifice tends to get a bit impatient as well, waiting for the old final cut the grass thing. You know, it's not fair.
Get it over with, right?
Yeah. You're here? Great. That's fine.
Yeah. Hail Satan.
Thanks very much. Everyone have a drink.
Yeah.
It's been great. I really appreciate it. And feel free to broadcast. I'm comfortable with all of this.
Yeah, let me know. Well, we'll discuss it after we stop, so it doesn't confuse the audience. But thanks so much for tuning in, guys. And we're doing a... Well, I'll ask in a second. Anything else to say, Doc, before we stop the recording?
Yeah, if you're a victim, try and realize it before you become a victim.
Yeah, and if somebody is out there saying some crazy shit to you that you think is just crazy, I don't know, shoot us an email. I mean, we'll give you a good read on it. Maybe. Or maybe if you're a piece of shit, we'll let you get what's coming to you. Who knows? Is that it? Are we done? Have we said too much?
That's perfect. That's all good.
All right. Well, give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, and we'll see you guys soon. Adios.
Hello, my name is Pastor John Coleman, and we're watching the sunrise. I don't know if you can see the sun rising on the beach. I'm existing in two realities. I am existing in two realities. I can't do this. I can't have one foot in the spirit world and one foot in the other world. It is so painful.